Hi, this is Merrisa from GAIA Africa, and today I am joining you from the first day of the fifth and final session of the INC treaty negotiations. Today began on a really positive note. We were welcomed by the Excellency of the Republic of Korea, and he was quite eloquent in the way he welcomed us, encouraging member states to muster up their political will in order for us to reach an agreement by the end of the negotiations here over these 7 days. We were further invited and encouraged by the INC chair as well as the secretariat and the executive director of UNEP, Ms. Inga Anderson, asking us and asking member states to acknowledge the fact that we have only 7 days of negotiations in order to shape history and to get the best possible treaty outcomes that we can from this process. It's worth noting that today also marks the 1,000th day since the UNEA 514 resolution was passed to end plastic pollution, and when the world got its first mandate to actually have a treaty that will address the comprehensive life cycle of plastics. So overall, it started off quite well, but as you can imagine, the stakes are quite high here on this fifth and final round of negotiations. And we very quickly started to spiral a little bit downwards and into almost a rabbit hole, if you must. And this took shape in this way because our usual suspects, being the like-minded group of countries, together with the Arab group of countries, including Russia, including India, as well as Saudi Arabia, very quickly started to open up comments on the rules of procedure for the treaty and how we adopt these rules. So very much trying to call for treaty decisions to be taken by consensus only, and this will actually put us in a deadlock where ambitious countries do not have the option of actually voting for the ambitious positions and treaty language to remain as part of this treaty text. So once we were over that hurdle, another hurdle presented itself to us in the course of plenary today. And this was basically the chair opening up his non-paper 3, which is basically his version of some kind of proposal towards a treaty text that can be advanced. As you all may recall, from the INC-4 and the last round of negotiations, we ended up with a very highfalutin and complicated treaty text, which currently has over 3,700 brackets and is quite challenging to actually navigate and be able to adopt positions from there. However, despite this, that compiled text actually gave us balanced views of weaker obligations, but also on the flip side of that, stronger treaty obligations. But because of its complexity, the INC chair has now tried to propose his own version of a treaty text to be mandated and be adopted by member states. So we had almost 169 member states accepting the chair's non-paper as a basis of negotiations or a starting point for the negotiations here at INC-5 on the basis that they will actually go into contact groups later tonight and further negotiate for this non-paper to be strengthened and to have more ambitious positions that are not as voluntary and as nationally determined as the current non-paper is. So these were our ambitious countries like the African Group of Negotiators, like the PCIDs, as well as quite a few other member states that are willing to use this non-paper 3, but on the basis that it has to be strengthened and that it has to have a reflection of all countries' positions and also be able to include key and essential elements that will get us a strong treaty at the end of it all. But it is also worth noting that we also had the Arab group of countries, excluding Egypt, together with Russia, that were unfortunately rejecting this non-paper 3 as a basis of negotiations on the basis of lower ambition. However, it is also worth noting that on behalf of 22 Arab group countries, Saudi Arabia, excluding Egypt, rejected the chair's non-paper as a basis for negotiations. This also includes Russia, and they did so on the fact that they would like stronger articles of the treaty to be deleted, such as articles on supply and production reduction, as well as chemicals of concern, because they do not completely agree with these provisions being included as part of the treaty. So their basis of rejection was actually on lower ambition. So that was sort of the navigation or the journey that plenary took today. And we also finally got to know at the end of today's plenary who will chair and co-chair the legal drafting group. And this will be by Cameroon, Canada, as well as Saudi Arabia. So we now are going to be moving into contact group 2, which will discuss emissions, waste management, and contact group 4, which will discuss the supporting provisions for the treaty, which includes capacity building, the objective of the treaty, the scope of the treaty, as well as national action plans. And to perhaps end off on a bit of more of a positive note for today, we had a member informal event put together and hosted by Sejad Kenya on safeguarding Africa's priorities for this global plastics treaty. For more updates, stay tuned to our social media pages on Instagram and Facebook.